I'm not like preoccupied with the zombies as you know, the zeitgeist of it, or the psychology of the zombie itself, or whether we're all hoping for an afterlife or life after death. None of that stuff is in my mind. My stories have always been about the people. And the zombies are almost just an annoyance. You know, they could be any disaster. I joke sometimes and say maybe I'm the Michael Moore of horror.
In the new film Survival of the Dead, horror master George Romero adds a new chapter to his ongoing series of zombie films that are part fright fest and part social commentary. This latest film picks up immediately following the events in Romero's previous film, Diary of the Dead, by following a group of National Guardsmen who strike out on their own to find a way to survive in a world increasingly populated by the walking dead. The Guardsmen soon find themselves in the midst of a bitter and deadly struggle between two feuding families on a coastal island. One family feels the zombies, even if they're family members, should be shot on sight. The other family feels the zombies should be quarantined in the hope that a solution or cure may be someday found. Survival of the Dead is pure George Romero, exciting, very gruesome, and a lot of frightful fun. Romero directs this entertaining installment in a bit of a grander scale, with scenes very reminiscent of an old western. The cast is quite good, but it's the zombies that always steal the show, and this film offers plenty of them, with Romero offering up surprising new ways to kill them off. If you're a George Romero fan, Survival of the Dead shows the old master hasn't lost his touch.
Hi everybody, I'm here with a Hollywood legend, horror director George Romero, who you've known from so many zombie films. His latest film is Survival of the Dead. What sets this one apart for you?
The first 4 films that I made were 10 years or more apart from each other. And I enjoyed the fact that they reflected different decades, and even stylistically they were very different. And then I did a film called Diary of the Dead, and I needed to do it very quickly after Land of the Dead because it's about new emerging media.
You seem to be having a whole lot of fun and going in maybe a new sort of direction with a different sort of grouping of zombie films. Is that the case here?
Well, that would be, yeah. I mean, hopefully if I get to do all 4 of them, I don't know. I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse. But I would like to have this sort of little set of 4 films that really describe the world. There's a couple of new rules that I threw into this film, and you know, some things for the fans to find out and chew on a little bit.
A lot of your films, a lot of the films that you've done in the past have had zombies as the focus, yet you have a sort of social commentary in a lot of your films. With Dawn of the Dead, there was consumerism. This one touches on war. Why, when you're making that commentary, why do you use zombies?
Well, it's my signature. To me, there's no reason to do a fantasy or unless it's allegory, unless it's metaphorical.
Unlike a lot of horror films out there, you really get into some character development. How important is that for you?
Well, to me, it's all important. My stories have always been about the people and about how they respond to this, or don't respond, or respond stupidly. And I find that's the most fun, because that's really, at the heart of all the films, that's what I'm criticizing the most, I think, is that people, even faced with disaster, just keep shooting at each other.
You come from a multicultural background. Has that, a multicultural Latino background, has that influenced some of your films at all?
I don't know if it really has. I mean, I think New York, growing up in New York, was more of an influence than anything else. My dad was Cuban, my mom was Lithuanian, so I was one of those New York kids, you know. So they always spoke English. That's my biggest disappointment, that I don't speak either of their languages. I just grew up because they were speaking English to each other. But you know, I call myself very often Cuban, because I love, culturally, I love it. I love the music. I love the stuff. I love to, you know, I haven't been down there. I'm living in Canada now, so I guess I qualify. I can go back to Havana. But I don't know that I can't put a real finger on that being important. You know, I think just growing up in a big city and having to sort of fend for yourself and all of that stuff was, and some of the cruelty that you find in big cities was more of an influence than certainly anything in my family.
What do you enjoy most about the horror genre in the films that you make?
Well, I've always loved the genre. I've always loved it as allegory, and I've just enjoyed it. I mean, I grew up as a kid on reading EC comic books, Tales from the Crypt, all that stuff, and so I've always been a fan. And I'm just happy to be able to do it. I'm sort of stuck in a niche where I'm loving it, so it's great. I've gotten to do other kinds of films, and I enjoy doing those too, but it's always fun to come back to horror.